Hey everybody, welcome to the Start, Build, Grow Show. We have an awesome episode once again for you, and I got a couple awesome entrepreneurs, roofing entrepreneurs, and we're going to dive into what it takes to build a great local roofing brand and build a great local roofing brand in a retail environment. So we're going to dive into that here in just a minute. So stay tuned. We'll see you in a sec.
JobLimits is a fully customizable back office solution.
Track leads, jobs, tasks from one easy-to-use software.
And with the largest ecosystem of integrated partners, if we don't do it, we have a friend who does.
Learn how the #1 back office system in roofing
We can help you be efficient, be organized, be professional, and be profitable.
I just think our salespeople are being a little bit of, lead babies.
Yeah, we don't say lead babies. It's okay for people to specialize in selling instead of canvassing and lead gen for themselves. We call them roofing sales professionals.
Surprisingly, sales are way up as we built heavier duty lead gen systems and let our salespeople be roofing sales professionals.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Can't wait for this episode. Man, Kris and Kollin from Werner Roofing out of the beautiful north, the great white north of the United States, just owning it up there. And I'm excited to kind of share your story and pour into our audience here. I've got a chance to know you guys over the last couple of years, and I got to say, I mean, the work that you put in, execution, the ownership, the leadership growth of, I know what I want to do with my business. I know where we want to go, and I know what it's going to take to get there, and I'm willing to put in the work. You guys exemplify that, and I'm excited to share that story. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to watch this, going to listen to this, going to be inspired. So thank you guys for taking time out of your busy lives, a busy day, for joining us. Kris and Kollin with Werner Roofing. What's up, fellas?
Happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to. Glad to have it.
Yeah. How's the weather up there? And let us know your exact location as well.
So we're in Grand Haven, Michigan, on the lakeshore, which you still have to come fishing yet. That's still a date we're waiting for. But the weather's great here. We're in the, I think it's mid 80s today. We've had some good weather. We had a big drought late spring, early summer, but we've had some rain recently. So back to what we needed, which was rain.
Nice. Yeah, you don't want those drought conditions. I'm in the Colorado market, and we've been it seemed like in a drought for years, and the fires and crazy things have been happening. And then now it's like the opposite, where we're just getting drenched in rain and hail. Like it seems like every day. But I'm not complaining, because we finally we're in a market where there's hail, and you guys are in a market where not so much hail all the time, but you've still managed to build an awesome brand. And as you could tell, their branding is just on point. Kollin, what's up, man? I got to get an introduction there too.
Yeah, awesome. Happy to be on. Yeah, like Kris said, it was May and June here. I think we got less than an inch total of rain between those 2 months, and it is typically dry here in June. But that was, in a retail market, it felt like we were not in a retail market. Like we were watching the weather every other day, just begging for a storm to come through to drum up some work. It was great on the install side because we could install every day without any worry of having to deal with rain or weather. But if it doesn't rain, then roofs don't leak. And around here, if roofs aren't leaking, people aren't calling. So it's been good the last month or so. We've gotten a lot more rain, and business has really kicked back into gear. So it was a really good July, and it's been a really good start to August. So
awesome. Well, welcome in. I'm excited to kind of share your story, and there's a lot of the emphasis in roofing, right? A lot of the attention, we'll call it the attention in roofing, is it goes to the hailstorms and then markets that have all these hail, and and grapefruit size hail tearing everything up, and all these storm chasers and door knockers and all these companies like scaling up and down with hail. But that's actually, in reality, that's a minority in the roofing space. If you actually add up all the roofing that gets done across the country, it's actually less, but it just catches all the buzz. So we're going to shift gears and really focus on that, on what you guys do. So in traditional fashion on the show, you know, I like to share the story. So we'll start with Kris, as you're the founder and you've been doing this a long time. I want to kind of hear both of your stories, because Kollin, I know you came in a little bit later, but Kris, how did you get into roofing? What did you do before? And how did, you know, Werner get started?
So way back 35 years ago, graduated from college, degree in business, worked in corporate for a little while. My brother-in-law was working for a roofing company, and I was looking for something different. Started out doing sales for him. Did that for a fairly large company here in Michigan for about 10 years, managed an office for them, but then just really had the itch to do our own thing. So then in 2007, really 2008 was our first full season when Werner Roofing was born. And as I mentioned earlier, we're in Grand Haven, Michigan, not a big community, right along the lakeshore. We kind of service the Holland, Muskegon, Grand Haven area. But it just started from scratch. You know, we didn't have, that was, you know, kind of the infancy of the internet and internet marketing. And so nobody really knew who we were. So we just got after it. And, you know, the brand is something that, you know, it takes time. And
Yep.
So it was just, there's no shortcuts. And so we just slowly over the years built our reputation, our brand, by taking care of customers, doing the right thing, fixing mistakes, and being involved in the community. And yeah, we joked that you know, the hail, talking about hail, we had a hailstorm, small hailstorm, early spring, and when I saw it I was following the radar that day, and they're talking about hail, and I told some of the guys, I said, I hope it hits about 50 miles on the other edge of our normal service area, because then that'll take all of the stormers away from us. And that's exactly what happened that day. And so we, you know, we don't want to be drawn away from taking care of our customers. So that we would rather focus on our customers here in our retail market. And so, yeah, it sounds kind of weird saying we don't want that kind of work, but it's what we built it on retail and relying on rain, like Kollin said, having the rain. And so we've been able to attract a great staff. We've got a great production team, great sales team, great office team, and we've just been very blessed.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're going to press into a lot of things, to kind of dive in there. And I'll kind of make some notes there on that, you know, that family, that culture, that atmosphere. Because I know a lot of companies in smaller markets or retail markets really struggle. They can't find, I hear this all the time, I can't find good people. And you know, the reality of it is, like, we have to look internally first. Like, are we creating an environment, and we creating a brand and a company and a culture that wants good people to come? Or are we just chasing and trying to leverage whatever we can to overpromise and underdeliver to attract people to come work for us? Like, which avenue we got? You know, you catch what's that old saying? You catch more bees with honey, right, than vinegar. So let's apply that, right? But we'll dive into some of this stuff. But Kollin, how did you get involved in this business, and what's your current role?
So I guess I would say my current role is a bit of a Swiss Army knife. I've kind of got my hand in a lot of different pots, but I started out, so I graduated high school 2014. I went to Michigan State. We're huge Spartan fans. We've been season ticket holders my entire life. We're gearing up for football season right now. And so I was there for a year with really no goal. My parents, I think, kind of wanted me to get the college experience and if I hadn't, most of my lifelong friends that I've developed relationships with, I never would have met. And my wife specifically, I met on essentially the first day of school and told her I was going to marry her within about 2 weeks of that. So that never would have happened if I never would have been there. But I never really went to college with any sort of goal or direction, because since I was a little kid, I kind of knew this was where I wanted to end up. I've always been around roofing from, riding in the truck with dad, going to appointments after school on days, Saturdays and even Sundays, going and getting crews rolling before we'd go to hockey or basketball. I've just been around it forever and really loved it. Loved what the transformation really that you can make on a house in a day, and how happy you can make somebody when they're in a stressful situation. So I really always knew this was where I would end up. And then after not very long in school, I would say a few weeks, it was clear to me that with the learning, the school learning skills that I have, there wasn't much I was going to learn there that I couldn't learn from my dad being home and working. So after about a year there, I would say I started full time here around 2015, doing a little bit of gutter installation. We had a larger gutter brand that we were partnered with at the time, but then for about 3 years, to kind of throw me into the fire of really understanding a roof, we had a service tech who worked for us who had probably about 40 years of experience in the business with low slope roofing, standing seam, and a lot of shingling as well. We were basically a 2-man service team, and we would do everything from diagnosing leaks, low slope installs, tearing out valleys and reinstalling, pipe boot repairs, anything you can come up with that needs serviced on a roof. I got a lot of experience in those about 3 years of just spending every day in the van with him rolling around, and got just a whole wealth of knowledge in just kind of how roofs behave and what can go wrong with them, what to look for. Diagnosing leaks, I would say, is something that I got very, very strong with. We joke all the time that I feel like there's nobody, at least on the west side of the state of Michigan, that can diagnose a leak faster, but also more accurately than I feel like I can. And there's I think people don't realize there's a lot of people in the business that are selling, installing, running companies that don't really know all that much about how a roof behaves and what can go wrong with them, and what to look for when a customer is having an issue. And transition from that into more of a full-time sales role for a couple of years. And then over the last few years, it's kind of been like what I said, a little bit of we joke I'm sort of a firefighter. I've dealing with all those issues with Dan, who was our service tech. I learned and kind of already had the skills of just talking to customers and being able to build relationships with them, really. And it's translated to just kind of a vast array of skills. So more recently, I've been in, I guess, what we would call a sort of sales manager role, dealing with a lot of customers on the front end when they're calling in to set up appointments, just building that relationship from the very first time they contact with us, and trying to set our salesmen up for success, so that once they go out to the house, they've already talked to a knowledgeable representative about what they've got going on, and started to establish those touch points to make the sales process smooth. Our production side is kind of something that we've, I think, done a good job the last 2 years of building a really good team that the both of us have been able to sort of remove from that and let that run on its own. And it's run very smooth with a lot of help from different people, a lot of help from Bree and yourself, turning that into really, really a machine. So it's really freed me up to now what we've been focusing on more recently is developing a real sales process and a system that we can duplicate and replicate and teach new guys on. We've had a salesman start recently who's been really fantastic. He has a lot of experience in the in-home sales world, but we've brought him into a good situation where in the past we've had guys that we brought in and we have all the skill and knowledge and relationship building experience that you really can't teach to somebody if you don't have those systems and stuff in place.
Absolutely.
To have them lean on. And it's been a fun year. It's been a really fun year getting more involved on that side and seeing that develop.
Very cool. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun just hanging out and being a part of you guys' journey, and from afar as well as being in it and sharing and kind of helping work through challenges. It's been a lot of fun. You guys have been awesome, and that's why I thought, like, let's get on a show, man. I think there's some amazing things that some contractors can really learn from out here. So shifting back over to Kris, what is your role currently, and kind of how you've developed that? Because I think that you've been very intentional over the last couple of years about really setting the company up for the future. Right. I think a lot of us kind of just go at it, and we just go and play defense. And something shifted to where you're like, you know what? I need to start thinking about playing offense. I need to start thinking about empowering Kollin and bringing other people up, and really, implementing these systems and processes after being in it for so long. Like, what triggered, and how did you come to the realization that, hey, I need to shift the way I'm doing things in order to set this business up for the future? I think there's a lot of roofers out there that can really learn from that experience.
Yeah. So ironically, I as we kept growing, and my wife was who also was my business partner and is works here every day as well. I don't remember who we got the term from, there's at every level there's another devil. And so as our business has grown, we've found that the more that you're both in the business, trying to work in the business and on the business, you're doing neither of them well. And so ironically, a few years ago, as I'm mowing my lawn, I started listening to this podcast, the Start, Build, Grow show. And I think we've talked about this before. I joke about it, but those were some key moments for me, because there were so many different pieces, because you can scan through and you look, oh, I'll listen to this one, or I throw my headset on and jump on the lawnmower, and you try to scan through which one am I going to listen to, and some look more appealing as the topics to others, but without fail, every episode would have something. It might sound a little like this one's not as glamorous, or it might be a topic that I didn't find real overly interesting, but once you got into it, through a combination of yourself and the guys on the show, the guest, I would always come away with something. So it really, those episodes and getting me involved, more with others in the industry, other industry experts, it really exposed me to being able to grow the business with adding managers. We have Tanner as our production manager, and as like Kollin mentioned, he's really been able to just take production to where we keep our eye on it, but for the most part we can let it go, and sales is close behind there too. We've got a great office staff that takes care of all that, so it's really been a conscious effort of trying to get people in leadership roles to own their position, own their job, and which has allowed us to really, really take ownership myself into growing the individual departments. Specifically right now, sales is our focus. So Kollin mentioned our sales process is continues to improve, but we're making a big push into that right now, onto really developing a strong sales and marketing program to get to get aggressive, to take us to the next level.
Yeah, I love that, and we'll dive into that a little bit, because I know what you guys are doing, and we've actually had them on the show, and some of the guys over at Riva are just incredible human beings that I've just built the utmost respect for as well, and you've had a chance to kind of work with us, the TRA, as far as like we're all about like back office and those systems, production and finances, and making sure all that piece. Yeah, we got some sales stuff, but there's some other programs out there that can be just especially for retail, it could be really, really impactful in your business. And you see the value in that. You're like, I'm going to invest back in my company and invest back in, in other people and programs to help me grow my business. But at the same time, I want to press in a little bit on you know, as an owner that's been kind of doing everything, right? Before that, you were the guy kind of doing all the things for a long period of time. I believe that there's a mental block or like a challenge that we have to go through to like start the process of letting other people take over, empowering and letting someone else become a leader. You just mentioned you had to, you know, sitting on your lawnmower, and that's so cool. I love that story, man. I'm grateful to be a part of it. That's why you do this. It's so cool to see that like how that comes full circle from like 5 years ago, right? But I know there's owners out there that want to get there, that have been doing it a long time. They want to get their business to the next level, but there's just some sort of a challenge. There's like this block of maybe it's fear or something. They're just not willing to let go of certain areas of the business, and they're not willing to let others lead and let others make mistakes in order to learn and grow. How did you overcome that?
It was a combination of being able to let go and let them make mistakes, because mistakes are going to happen. But if they don't make mistakes, they don't learn. If you're constantly looking over their shoulder. So there was times when I had to bite my tongue and let things play out just so they could feel it themselves. And I think the other part is, years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, we didn't have the resources that we have now. We didn't have the podcast. We didn't have the mastermind groups. We were kind of, when we started about the same time. You had to figure it out on your own. And it's been really refreshing to be able to see the industry, everyone helping each other. I mean, you help guys in your own market. That's pretty impressive. And so for me, it's been, I've never considered myself someone that was, you can't be too full of yourself or too, to not ask for help.
Prideful.
I recognize. Yeah. So I recognize that there are so many aspects of our industry that there's guys that do it better than I do in different aspects. And that's okay. Yeah. And they're also out there willing to help you. So that's what I would encourage someone, if they're new in the industry or they're just starting out, is find those guys. There's so many, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's any aspect, there's experts in the industry that will help you, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's ways to, it's already been done. Just duplicate what those guys have done, but don't be too prideful to think you know it all, because you don't.
Yeah.
I'm learning every day. I've been doing this 30 years.
Yeah. I love that, man. And that's the thing too, is I had a podcast and we've been successful. We had some good ups, but the reality is, man, I don't know it, bro. I don't know it all. And I still employ the same things. I feel like this industry has created a life for myself and for my family that I'm so blessed to have. And if it weren't for roofing, if it weren't for roofing finding me where it found me as a homeless and to build what we've built, I'm just grateful to that. So part of why I do what I do is because I just want to give back to the industry that's blessed me. But the other part is like the people. I learned early on in life that, if you want to be successful, you got to surround yourself by successful people. If you want to gain knowledge, go find people who know what you want to know and who have experienced the things that you want to experience. It's about life is about success is about gaining wisdom and gaining knowledge. You can either gain wisdom and knowledge through the hard knocks, through trial and error, through 30 years in the business, right? Or you can fast track that by surrounding yourself with people that you can learn from their mistakes as well. But here's the thing. I ain't made it. You haven't made it. We both know that. We're on a journey. The journey itself is the destination. We are progressing each and every day. I just happen to have a platform that I've been blessed to have that can share these things. But you better believe I learn way more from interviewing you than people learn from me talking to them. And that's the reality of what this is. I'm just on a journey as well, just trying to learn myself to master my craft because, I don't know it all either. So thank you, man, for sharing all that. It's great. So let's flip father, son, right? family dynamic, right? We've been there. I've been there. Family business. There's a lot of family businesses in roofing. Flip the script. Kollin, you're the kid coming up, like probably acting like a knucklehead plenty of times, right? Coming up, going to college, doing your thing. Like I love that you always kind of had this vision. And you know what's funny? Literally this morning, I was talking to my 8-year-old kid, and he's like, and I was talking to him about college or something. He wants to be an NBA player. He's like, well, I'm like, what if that doesn't work? He's like, well, I'll just come take over your business, Dad. I'm like, that was like the first time he ever said that. He's 8. I'm like, you know what? Now I got to add that into my succession plan, right? Like, is that going to be a thing? And you guys are executing that, and you kind of been bred and brought up in the industry. And I love that, because so many of us, just like I said, you can fast track, you can learn from other people's mistakes or other people sharing, but there's also something to be said about your journey in putting in the time and energy to learn what you needed to learn to then get you to where you are now. And I'm sure there's some challenges being, the kid, the son, the generational guy coming up, trying to take over and trying to position yourself to send Kris off into the sunset someday, right? What from your perspective, how has that journey been, and what are some takeaways and some things that you'd like to share on that?
It's been, I mean, like anything, it's not a straight scale to the top. There's ups, there's downs, there's highs, lows. I think that was definitely the motivation on accepting, wearing tar covered pants and a dirty t-shirt and doing repairs for years. And I felt like I if I was going to be, respected and looked at in a similar light that he is, there's going to be times you just don't know, and you have to refer to somebody else. But I wanted to have as much knowledge as I possibly could, so that if there's a question about a product, pricing, how to deal with an unhappy customer, how to communicate with suppliers or finance people, I needed to really dive in and understand how all of that works and kind of build those relationships for myself. And I feel like the last couple of years, that's really developed with our relationship with ABC, our supplier, our relationship with GAF, and kind of developing my own relationships with them, and instead of just sort of being an extension or a shadow of Kris. And that's like you guys mentioned before, you have to be humble. You have to understand what your limits are and what you're good at. And that's always kind of been the goal in the long term, is to be looked at in a similar light as Kris. Because, I mean, if you can ask anybody that works here, they know that if there's a question about really anything, they can defer to him. But trying to, not position myself as we all see and we hear it all the time, that's where a lot of small businesses fail, is in that generational switch when there's a handoff from the first generation into the second generation, because you often have a next generation that's a little entitled and just sort of expects to have everything handed to them in the business and sometimes in life as well. And just trying to always stay conscious of the fact that I'm really not owed anything. They could, it is a family business, but at the end of the day, if they turned around and said, tomorrow we're selling the business, we're gone, that's not really my decision. Thankfully, we don't have a relationship like that, and we're always hand in hand and in constant conversation between my mom, my dad, my brother, who works for us now too, in higher level decisions. It's always it's an open discussion between the four of us, and I'm very thankful of that. But I know that it wouldn't be that way if I hadn't spent my time taking my lumps, climbing roofs, getting in attics, doing the for lack of a better word, the dirty work. Because even in the period kind of between the repairs and the sales, there was a period where I was basically just running our service department. So it was, there were periods where I was like, I'm dealing with all the stuff that nobody else wants to do, and kind of shifting the outlook from that to I'm doing the stuff that I'm prepared and equipped to deal with, and have, the skin in the game to be able to look at it from a business owner's perspective. And I think that's equipped me well. And it's I'd have to ask staff, but I think it's built respect towards me that there's not a lot that I don't know about or can't at least point them in the right direction to the person that does know and can answer the question, so that whenever that time does come that they want to make that exit, which I know is never going to fully happen. Kris will tell you he's going to be 83 years old going to look at roofs and wanting to know what our sales numbers are at and what products we're looking at using and what relationships we developed, because he loves this. And that's how I want to be. And I have aspects of that, but it's something that it continues to develop as I spend more time in the industry, spend more time with customers, with suppliers, with different industry leaders. And it's to put it in one word, it's you have to stay humble. You have to know what you know and know what you don't know, and be transparent with people when you're when you can help and when you need to defer.
Man, I can't imagine how proud Kris is listening to you right now, man. I could just see it on his face, and some of you listen to the podcast in your truck, watch the YouTube video, because you could just tell how proud this dad is of his kid, because what you're saying, man, is so profound this day and age that I wish I hate to even use it, millennial, X-millennial, whatever, like Generation Z, whatever it is, okay? The younger generation, I hate that I'm even old enough now to say, the younger generation can hear that, because our society has conditioned us to, we just talked about, we're in the age of knowledge and information. You can go to YouTube and learn how to build a roofing company. I can teach. I got a whole program. You can spend a couple grand and here you go. Here's a whole roofing company right there, right? Just press play. And to hear someone that came up in a generation of like expectations of, I'm going to be handed with this, that, and the other, to hear someone say, I appreciate the fact that I had to go through my own journey and I had to learn from the ground up how to do this to earn my place, to earn my respect in this business, is just so profound, my friend. And I love hearing that, because, I came up in a generation too, where it was, I'm kind of in between those, right? The X-millennial, millennial, whatever. And it was like, I watched my grandfather, my dad just work and work and work and work and learn and work and learn. And I was always like, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to work for 30 years just to learn one thing or one skill or whatever. I'm going to find ways to fast track it. But I was also instilled that work ethic of like, if I can work as hard as I can and smart at the same time, I can get into management faster. I can get into ownership faster. I can get into all these things faster. And you're executing the same strategy, but there is a certain rite of passage. Man, my hands are calloused, my man. I've been same boat. Like I can strap on the tool belt. I can grab a nail gun. I know how to measure twice and cut once. You know what I mean? And there's a certain rite of passage. So for those the younger ones out there listening to this, like, it's okay to be on a journey. You don't need to have it all right now. You're like, the journey is the destination. Work at it each and every day. Show up and get better. Show up and get better. Show up and get better. And all of a sudden, it's going to switch. And you're going to earn that respect of your peers, and you're going to earn that respect of your staff. And all of a sudden, you now have established yourself as a leader that other people want to follow. And that's the key to success in life and in business, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's way beyond me. When I was 27, he's way smarter than I was.
Oh man, yeah, I was a basket case at 27, man. I was in a rough spot in my life, and I want to be like you when I grew up, Kollin.
I joke that I'm a Twitter and Wikipedia intelligence. That's where it comes from. I just love love learning about things. So that's
just learn
all the time. It's like, how do you know about that? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Endless curiosity can take you down a lot of little wormholes that fill you full of knowledge.
Yep. The goal is knowledge and wisdom, right? You got to go after that. And once you get it, keep going, because there's always something to learn. So as we start to bring it down here, I want to shift and kind of make sure we focus a little bit on, we hear a lot about storms and hailstorms and all the things on this show. It's just, again, it's the noise in the industry, but there's so much to be said about a retail environment. what would you say is the key elements that have helped you build a sustainable model that's continuing to grow in a retail market that doesn't rely on hailstorms?
I think one, you just have to take the mindset of it's a long game. It's not a if you're in a storm market, you can hire sales guys, you can go flood a market, and you can go sell 5 million, 8 million, whatever your number is. But a brand, a strong brand comes over time. So, and that's what I mean by when I say the long game. So it takes time, it takes sacrifice. It's doing the right, it's taking care of every customer, one customer at a time, fixing your mistakes. We make mistakes. We have things get broken. It happens. It's a big messy job tearing off roofs. So things happen. But it's taking care of every customer so that you can get to, I don't know what we have, 315 Google reviews with a 4.9 rating.
Yep.
So that takes effort, takes sacrifice. It takes some humble pie sometimes. The customer isn't always right, but the customer is always the customer. And so you got to take care of the customer. I think other things is really, being involved in the community, taking care of your community, doing things, giving back. One of the things that we do along with that is repairs. We do tons of repairs. I think you're missing out if you don't have a repair department, if you want to build a retail brand.
Yep.
Many of our customers' roof replacement projects come from people that we did repairs for. And a lot of them got free repairs, simple pipe boot repair, simple little caulking on a pipe boot collar. This industry has been, it hadn't had the best reputation for a number of years because there was a lot of bad players, and they would sell you anything, or they did bad work. And so we've built a rapport with our community, within our community, and our customers by doing the right thing. If they don't need a roof, they don't need a roof. If they can have a small repair done to get them by till, for another year or 2 years till the wedding's paid for, or the college is paid off, and it helps them, puts them in a better position, and we can do a simple repair. And like I said, sometimes it's even no cost. That's part of building a brand. That's part of which, to build a retail system like we operate in, you have to have that brand.
Yeah, I love that. And the community aspect is huge. Family aspect is huge. You can be successful in a smaller market, but you got to diversify. You can't just have all your eggs in one basket. And I love that. And I talk about that all the time of like, people tend to think, well, I don't want to put the energy towards, this, that, and the other, especially like a repair department, because why? It's only $500 to fix a pipe boot, or even free or whatever. I'm not going to make any money. The reality of it is, if you do have an established, repair department, you can do a lot of other things. It's like a feeder system for the other areas of the business, commercial and residential. And like for us, a repair department has been the catalyst to drive both of those. My commercial department is overwhelmed right now with work, and we were just grinding away doing repairs for the last 4 or 5 years, playing that long game. So I can attest to what you're saying there is, instill a repair department in your business. Here's the thing, even if you're in a storm market and you've had storms the last few years, don't rest on your laurels. Don't just assume it's going to happen every year. Build your business for sustainability.
Did you have 3 this year?
Like 13. I don't even, it's been quite a bit of, a couple like really big ones that are, obviously everyone hears about all over the country, but there's been a number of other little ones that, hey, this one neighborhood or 2 neighborhoods gets smoked, and we can deal with that. But before that, we had to survive for 4 years. This market had no help for 4 years. We had to diversify. Luckily, we started building service department, commercial department, and training the retail sales, like you were just talking about, like the sales process years ago, preparing for when the market was not going to happen, when the storm wasn't going to happen. I mean, I go into every year, at the beginning of the year, I tell my team, hey, that was last year. This is this year. Let's operate as if there's not going to be a storm. How are we going to manage our business? What are we going to do to set ourselves up to survive and thrive and grow in a market where we don't have that big storm to work off of? How do we do that? Then these are some of the things we did. Instill a retail sales system, instill service department, and then a retail commercial department as well. And that's how we survived 4 years with no hail and left us in a position to where we can just absolutely accelerate when we got the hail. Whereas a lot of companies had hollowed out and got down to 1 or 2 people because they didn't have anything else in their bag of their tool bag, so to speak, because they were reliant on that hail. So if I had it my way, I love the retail model. I love you play the long game. You can be more intentional about how you market, how you grow. You can almost create more predictable growth, and the numbers are a lot easier. You're closing jobs out. You're getting paid right away. You're not waiting months on insurance. Like there's a lot more benefit to the retail market. So for those of you kind of in between, take some of these lessons that we're talking about today and instill them in your business, because we can learn a lot from a retail model that will help us even in our storm model as well.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with the storm model. It's just you have to figure out who you are. What are you? And if you're in a storm market, that's fine. For us, we can't rely on that, and
Yep.
we'll catch storms. We have some storms here. We know how to work storms, but the big hailstorms that you guys deal with on a regular basis, we got big cold Lake Michigan next to us, so storms generally fall apart, and so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, fair enough. I love it. That's spoken by a true entrepreneur and businessman. Go ahead, Kollin.
I was just going to say I would say if there's one key to the retail side, and I think this translates to the storm side as well, but it is entirely relationship building. And if you can get great relationships with your suppliers, great relationships with your manufacturers, but more so than that, look at every lead that comes in is a relationship building opportunity rather than a sales opportunity. And like you said, if there's a repair you can do, or if they do need a new roof, looking at it as an opportunity to build a relationship with a customer, they feel that the customer really does feel that. And I don't know where we saw it, but there's a lot of people that will decide if they're going to buy from somebody within the first 5 to 10 minutes of when they meet them. And if you come in with a smile on your face and you're low pressure and they can tell that you're just there to help them, you make people so much more comfortable, and you can really you weed out a lot of your competition, to be honest, because like you said, there's a lot of not so great players, but even some of the good players are not really looking at it from the right perspective. And people can tell when you're trying to sell them something, and when you're just trying to educate them and teach them about what's going on with their house, what's going on with the roof, because for the most part, people don't have a clue. There's the vast majority of people do not have much knowledge when it comes to the health of their roof and what's going on up there. A lot of them, it looks great. There's a little algae, a little moss, or maybe some granule loss, but they don't really understand what any of that means. And I think that translates to your employees. If you really focus on building great relationships with your employees, your customers, and then your suppliers and manufacturers, you have this just smooth system that flows up and down, and the customer feels that. I think, trying to think of all of our employees right now, the vast majority of them came to us. We haven't really sought out any of them. Tanner, our production manager, all 3 of our salesmen, that they heard about our reputation, heard about who we are, and wanted to come to work for us. And when you have employees that have that attitude and like to work for you and care about the integrity of the customer, that's going to translate to the customer experience and back up to the supplier. And like we just had our ABC rep was in here a little while ago. I'm going to be with him tomorrow, spending some more time. And
on the golf course.
Yeah.
Must be rough.
With a couple other supplier reps too. But I might be wrong, but I would be willing to bet that our ABC rep and our GAF rep we're their favorite account, and we buy a lot of shingles from them, but I would say 90% of it is because they just enjoy being with us and spending time with us, and that's going to translate to opportunities. And Kris said it probably 8-10 years ago that if you really focus on relationship building and being an educator and a guider through the process, the snowball is going to start to form, and that snowball is full of opportunities and leads. And as it rolls down the hill, it's going to pick up more snow, because every customer knows everybody has a roof, and everybody has friends and family members that also need roofs. And if you focus on providing a great experience and building a strong relationship to them, it's going to translate to more business. We do roofs for people that we did a repair for a year ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago. And now that he's been in business so long, we're seeing people that we sold a roof to 15 years ago or even 5 years ago, and they're in a new house, and they because of the experience was so strong the first time around, they come back to us. And a lot of those people were people that had something go wrong on their job. So anything from minor stuff to really major stuff that we don't want that to happen too often, but how you handle those situations, you can take somebody that, I mean, we love the jobs that go smoothly, but the ones that have something go wrong, and then we stand behind it and really lean into that situation and use it as an opportunity to show off how much we're going to take care of them. That's going to translate even more. Kris and I were just talking yesterday. He had to deal with a rather unhappy customer, but I think we're both very similar, and we're pretty much similar in every way. But one of the things we almost enjoy the really angry, upset customer. I think a lot of people would look at, that lady's mad or that guy's mad, and there's nothing you can do about it. A lot of times there is, and they just need somebody to listen to them and hear them out. And we both, I think, in a little bit of a sick way, enjoy talking to those people that are what you would think are angry beyond what you could ever solve. And we say, oh, I'm going to just go over there and see what I can do. And a lot of times,
and as it turned out, it wasn't even the roof. So she was angry for nothing.
It hardly ever is.
and you nailed it. They just want someone to listen. We use the LAST method, LAST, with upset customer. L, listen. A, acknowledge their frustration, their pain. Satisfy, right? Find a way to satisfy whatever it is that they need at the time. And lastly, thank them. Empower them. Thank them. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. We're going to take what we learned from this experience, and we're going to implement new changes, and we're going to get better going forward. And that's a great way to diffuse those really challenging, really frustrated customers. Listen, acknowledge, satisfy, and thank.
We're going to steal
So let's wind this thing. I'm sorry.
We're going to steal that. I like that a lot.
Absolutely. It's public. There it is. We actually have that printed in our office, like for especially some of the staff, production manager. We got it printed up because, it's a reminder that, hey, we're not going to get it right all the time, but how do we handle things when we get it wrong? That's what drives those customers for life. That's the focus. How do we build customers for life? And you guys are the epitome of that. You've been focusing on building customers for life from the beginning, and great leadership, great humility. I'm just so grateful that I had you guys on the show. And now is my chance. So you, Kris, it's coming. You've listened to the show, Kollin, it's coming. Now is the time I put you on the spot and I ask you, give me your golden nugget. What's, I'm going to start with the old guy, Kris here, the dad, been doing it a long time. Give me your golden nugget, man. For those listening to the show,
go ahead.
Give me your golden nugget. What's like the biggest piece of advice you can give?
So as I was sitting here, I wrote this down, and it was just know who you are. Know who you are, because, not everybody, we're not all the same. But, build your business around who you are. So for us, we're about relationships. We're about being able to be humble and take care of issues. That's not for, some people just want to go sell, turn, do their thing. So it's figure out what is your market. Are you store market? Are you retail market? And know who you are and build your business around that.
Love it. All right, Kollin, what you got?
I would say, well, I didn't have anything at first, but then as soon as you, that's the first thing that popped into my head was to never stop learning, and I think that translates to all aspects of the business. But the way that, especially over the last 5 years, how much the industry's changed, and I mean, there was a period where we couldn't even do in-home sales, and in a retail market where we're so reliant on relationship building, and there was a period here in Michigan for about a year where you couldn't go in houses, you couldn't see, there was no face-to-face connection building, and I mean, that could happen again. You really never know. So always being a sponge to whatever knowledge there is to soak up, and being open to change. And that's something I say to my wife all the time, I say to people all the time, there's absolutely nothing guaranteed in life other than change. Things are going to change in work. Things are going to change in your personal life and your professional life constantly, every day, in small ways and in the long term in big ways. And you're not usually going to see them coming. It's hardly ever going to be what you expect. So being willing to learn and adapt is it's going to prepare you for really anything, from the extreme to COVID, to really the industry totally changing, to we were with Tim Brown actually when we were in Breckenridge for the Roofing Success Summit, and we were talking about there could be potentially a time in my lifetime at least where asphalt shingles aren't what the industry standard is. And I think you say that to a lot of roofers and they're like, oh no, that's never going to happen. But as different things affect what materials we're allowed to install and what customers want, we're doing a lot more metal roofing now, and different others, what we would call sustainable and more permanent roofing solutions. The customer profile has changed a lot the last few years, and they're a lot more educated than they used to be. They have different wants, different needs, and being able to listen and learn and then apply that is extremely valuable. So always just being prepared for, I don't remember who we were talking to the other day, that if you want to word it this way to make it a little easier, because of course the one guarantee is change, and the one thing that everybody hates is also change. You can look at it as improvement. The industry is always improving. I like to think the world is always improving. I don't know that everybody always agrees with that, but I think if individually and as groups, if we're all have that attitude and want to get better and to learn, then the world and the industry is just going to get better, and it's going to improve.
I love it. And it's up to us to do our part to have that mindset and to lean into helping improve our lives and improve the industry. Hey guys, this has been so cool hanging out with you, man. I think there's so many nuggets, so much value that's come out of this. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. For those of you who are listening, who are watching the show, we're grateful for you. If you're new to the show, hey, check out some of our old episodes. We've been doing this for 5 years. We have over 200 episodes, 250 episodes. We love your feedback. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share this out with someone that you think might get some value out of it as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Keep growing and learning every day. As the leader gets better, so does the company. Take care, everybody. God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks.